The markets are closed, but the business stories are just heating up. Hello, I'm Raine Musñgi. Catch up with us on Newsfeed Business. We begin at the House of Representatives, which is the numbers to impeach Vice President Sara Duterte. House Secretary General Reginald Velasco confirms 153 congressmen signed the impeachment complaint against the younger Duterte. This is higher than the 101 lawmakers needed for the House to endorse the complaint to the Senate, where she will be tried. Senate Secretary Renato Bantug, meanwhile, already instructed the staff members of the Senate Public Information Bureau, or PRIB, to prepare for the possible receipt of the impeachment complaint against the Vice President. But Senate President Francis Escudero clarifies the upper chamber is not preparing for anything for now. The Bilyonaryo News Channel will bring you the live proceedings at the Batasang Pambansa starting 4:30 p.m. today, along with developing stories related to the Philippine Vice President impeachment. Big tech companies. Chinese shares in Hong Kong stocks fell further after the U.S. Postal Service said it would suspend the acceptance of inbound parcels from China and Hong Kong. Contracts for U.S. equities edged lower as Google's parent, Alphabet, Inc., and Advanced Micro Devices, or AMD, tumbled in extended trading. Investors tell Bloomberg they are focused on Beijing's swift retaliation to the U.S.'s 10% tariff, and it's seen by some as a measured response to avoid a full-blown standoff. Trump said he's in no rush to talk to Chinese President Xi Jinping, and he'll speak to the Chinese president at the appropriate time. Volatility in China market is set to stay high as investors brace for an escalation while also hedging against the odds of a sudden breakthrough. While some analysts see Beijing's calculated retaliation as positive for market sentiment, others are concerned that the weaker than expected manufacturing activity data and the yuan's depreciation could weigh on Chinese stocks. In commodities, oil edged lower as concerns that the trade war would hurt global growth outweigh the announcement of reinforced sanctions on Iran. Gold rose to a record high, a bullion reaching an all-time peak of almost $2,850 an ounce after advancing by almost 1% in the previous session as the opening salvos of the U.S.-China trade war stoked haven demand. Japanese automakers Honda and Nissan may call off merger talks. Japan's Asahi Shimbun newspaper cited multiple sources saying a move that would pitch hard-hit Nissan into greater uncertainty. Honda had sounded out that Nissan about becoming a subsidiary, an idea that Nissan had strongly opposed. In December, the automakers had said they aim to set up a holding company by August 2026, when both of their shares would then be delisted. The two companies had initially said they plan to decide the direction of the integration by the end of January, but that was later pushed back to mid-February. Nissan plans to hold its board meeting as soon as Wednesday afternoon. Shares of Honda jumped as much as 12% after Nikkei reports it is pulling out of that tie-up with Nissan. Panama is weighing whether to cancel its contract with Hong Kong-based company that operates ports near the Panama Canal. Sources tell Bloomberg Panama may offer a potential concession to defuse President Donald Trump's threats about countering China's influence around the key waterway. The report says the government of President Jose Raul Mulino is weighing the possibility of canceling the contracts held by Hutchison Ports PPC, a subsidiary of billionaire Li Ka-shing's conglomerate CK Hutchison Holdings, though no decision has been made. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told Panamanian authorities during a visit Sunday that steps must be taken to curb what he called China's unacceptable influence over the U.S.-built canal.
It's pretty clear, and I hope that we'll see additional steps in the days to come to reaffirm that.
Meanwhile, European shares extended losses on Tuesday, led by financials following UBS's quarterly earnings. The Pan-European Stoxx 600 index was down 0.3%. The benchmark had logged its biggest single-day drop in more than 1 month on Monday. Investors grew unsettled over fears of a trade war between top global economies, the U.S. and China.
There are stupid tariffs, but there are also smart deals. Of course, Trump knows that any kind of tariff will certainly be met with counter tariffs. This will also lead to rising inflation in America. And some American voters will look around and say, didn't we vote for Trump because he wanted to fight inflation? And now inflation is higher after all. I think we have an opportunity to find a deal between America and the EU, for example by saying we will buy more liquid gas from America. The German automotive industry is certainly afraid of possible tariffs. We don't know how they will turn out. But it also creates uncertainty. I think the automotive industry will also revise its investment plans. The tendency will be to produce more in America in future, because then you can be sure you won't have to pay any tariffs. But we don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see over the next few weeks.
The European Union wants to engage swiftly with the United States over President Donald Trump's planned tariffs. Speaking before a meeting of EU ministers to debate trade and EU competitiveness Tuesday, Trade Chief Maros Sefcovic said he wanted early engagement and was awaiting confirmation of the appointment of Trump's pick for Commerce Secretary, Financier Howard Lutnick. The EU Commissioner for Prosperity and Industrial Strategy said the EU would defend its interests.
With the United States, we continue to think that in any case, the interest of the United States and the interest of the Europeans is to have a good relationship, a relationship of confidence with Europe. And the war of commerce doesn't just have losers. That is perhaps the conclusion from this discussion, which makes me think that Europe will evidentially defend its interests in this period, that we have prepared tools to defend European interests in that period.
I want to state clearly that transatlantic partnership is of strategic importance. No other two economies in the world are as integrated as we are. And on both sides of Atlantic, we benefit fully from this unique bond, and there is nothing unfair in it. So we are ready to listen, we are ready to engage, to negotiate in our mutual interest. Having said that, the EU would respond firmly to any trading partner that unfairly or arbitrarily imposes tariffs on EU goods. Given the increase in global competition and trade tension, that the EU's network, which is the largest and fastest growing network of trade agreements globally, covering 76 countries that account for almost half of the EU trade, will be very beneficial and a boost to our competitiveness.
We break into regular programming to bring you the last House plenary session before lawmakers go on break. Earlier today, it was confirmed that an effort to impeach Vice President Sara Duterte has gained enough support at the chamber. Let's listen in.
Representatives Franz de Castro of the ACT Teacher Party List, Representative Arlene D. Brosas of the Gabriela Party List, and Representative Raul Daniel A. Manuel of the Kabataan Party List on December 4, 2024. Impeachment complaint filed against Vice President Sara Z. Duterte, filed by Reverend Father Antonio Labiao Jr., Reverend Father Rico P. Ponce, Reverend Father Dionisio B. Ramos et al., and endorsed by Representative Gabriel H. Bordado Jr. of the 3rd District of Camarines Sur, and Representative Lex Anthony Chris A. Colada of the AMBIS OWA Party List on December 19, 2024.
Majority Leader. Mr. Speaker, today, as provided for in our additional reference of business, a verified impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte has been filed by at least one-third of all the members of the House of Representatives on February 5, 2025. Mr. Speaker, for the record, may we inquire from the Secretary General the total membership of the House as of today, February 5, 2025.
The Secretary General will please respond.
Mr. Speaker, as of the present, the total number of members of the House of Representatives is 306.
The Majority Leader is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, may we inquire from the Secretary General how many members of the House verified and swore before him the impeachment complaint?
Secretary General, please respond to the query of the Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Section 14, Rule 4 of the Rules of Procedures, in impeachment proceedings, the total number of House members who verified and swore before me this impeachment complaint is 215 House members.
The Majority Leader is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, may we know what is one-third of the total number of the members of the House?
The Secretary General will please respond.
Mr. Speaker, one-third of the total number of members of the House is 102.
The Secretary General has responded to the query of the Majority Leader. The Majority Leader is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, for the record, in consonance with the Constitution on Article 11 on accountability of public officers, particularly Section 3, Paragraph 4, and pursuant to Section 14, Rule 4 of the Rules of Procedure in impeachment proceedings, which provides as follows. Section 14, endorsement of the complaint resolution to the Senate. A verified complaint resolution of impeachment filed by at least one-third of all the members of the House shall constitute the articles of impeachment. And in this case, the verified complaint resolution shall be endorsed to the Senate in the same manner as an approved bill of the House. Considering that the Secretary General has certified that at least 215 members of the House of Representatives have verified and swore before him the said impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte, and consistent with our rules, I move that the Secretary General be directed immediately to endorse the same to the Senate.
There is a motion.
All right, we were just looking at proceedings at the House of Representatives in Quezon City, where 215 members of the House have been confirmed to have signed the impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte. House Speaker Martin Romualdez has approved the motion directing the House Secretary General to endorse the complaint to the Philippine Senate. That was a very quick turnaround there from the start of the proceeding to its endorsement. It happened in under 5 minutes, and we shall be looking at further events going on in the House in the coming minutes. Meanwhile, we'll pause for a break. Keep it here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Get to the latest stories.
The Philippines bags a historic bronze at the 2025 Asia-Pacific Women's Lacrosse Championship.
The updates.
Table tennis power duo siblings brought home medals from the WTT Youth Contender.
The scores and what to celebrate in the world of sports.
I'm Anton Rojas.
And I'm Erica Christensen.
On the scorecard.
Where sports is our business.
Business is our sport.
Only here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Good evening, I'm Pinky Webb.
The questions.
What did you uncover?
Nakita natin yung sa IPO. There was a violation of Section 8 of Republic Act 9511.
The issues.
Is there a problem with that, the present setup of the Syntax?
The reason there's a 5% increase is because of inflation.
We clarify matters.
All these government agencies were actually the lowest. That's why it has to be, I hope that it will be addressed.
Pinky Webb is always on point.
Representative Lawrence R. Defensor and Representative Jonathan Keith T. Flores. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to elect the aforementioned members as prosecutors in the trial of the impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Z. Duterte. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The majority leader is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, in the additional reference of business earlier read by the Secretary General, there are 3 other impeachment complaints filed against Vice President Sara C. Duterte. These are the impeachment complaint filed by Teresita Quintos Deles, Father Flaviano Villanueva, Gary Alejano et al. And endorsed by Representative Percival Sedanya of Akbayan Party List on December 2, 2024. Next is an impeachment complaint filed by Teodoro Casino, Lisa Masa, Nery Colmenares et al. And endorsed by Representative Franz L. Castro of ACT Teachers Party List, Representative Arlene Brosas of Gabriela Party List, and Representative Raul Daniel Manuel of Kabataan Party List on December 4, 2024. And the last one, Mr. Speaker, the third one, impeachment complaint filed by Reverend Father Antonio Labiao Jr., Reverend Father Rico Ponce, Reverend Father Dionisio Ramos et al., and endorsed by Representative Gabriel Bordado Jr. of the 3rd District of Camarines Sur, and Representative Lex Anthony Chris Colada of Ambis OWA Party List on December 19, 2024. Pursuant to our rules of procedure in the impeachment proceedings, considering that the plenary has already transmitted to the Senate the impeachment complaint filed by 215 members on February 5, 2025, that is today, I move that the 3 other impeachment complaints filed on December 2, 2024, December 4, 2024, and December 19, 2024, be transmitted to the archives. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to transmit to the archives the aforementioned 3 impeachment complaints filed last December 2, 4, and 19, 2024. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. These impeachment complaints are transmitted to the archives.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend session for a few minutes.
Session suspended.
All right, we were just watching proceedings of the House of Representatives live in Quezon City, where members of the House of Representatives, 215 of them, have already signed the impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte. House Speaker Martin Romualdez approved the motion directing the House Secretary General Reginald Velasco to endorse the complaint to the Senate. 3 impeachment complaints were also filed before the House of Representatives. They have just now sent to the archive. The decision for the impeachment follows 3 complaints filed against Duterte, citing alleged misuse of confidential funds, graft and corruption, betrayal of public trust, all grounds for impeachment under the Constitution. Here in the Bilyonaryo News Channel, we have the reports that the first complaint, led by Akbayan Party List Representative Percy Sendenya, accuses Duterte of failing to properly account for 125 million pesos in confidential funds allocated to the Office of the Vice President, or OVP, in 2022. It also highlights the 7 billion pesos in unliquidated cash advances from her tenure as Education Secretary. Among the complainants are former peace advisor Teresita Quintos Deles, priest Father Flaviano Villanueva and Father Robert Reyes, and Randy de los Santos, uncle of Kian de los Santos, a victim of government's drug war. They argue that Vice President Duterte's refusal to participate in budget hearings undermines the constitutional system of checks and balances. Sara Duterte has been described as having desecrated the trust with her blatant abuse of power. That's according to Senator Laila de Lima, spokesperson for the complainants of the first complaint. Now, the second complaint was filed by Bagong Alyansa Makabayan, or Bayan, and also cited betrayal of public trust as its primary argument, particularly over the misuse of confidential funds. They said they could have added more charges, but the betrayal of public trust already encompasses everything. That's according to Bayan Muna chairperson Neri Colmenares. Now, the third complaint was filed by a coalition of Catholic priests, civil society leaders, and lawyers, and it expands the allegations that include plunder, malversation, bribery, and graft and corruption. It was a 70-page complaint that argued that Vice President Duterte, as head of the OVP and the Department of Education, had direct oversight over the release of 125 million pesos in confidential funds in 2022 for her office, and another 112.5 million pesos in 2023 for the DepEd. All right, we will continue to follow happenings or events at the House of Representatives. Stay with the Bilyonaryo News Channel. Stay tuned.